The woman slowly opened her eyes, groggy and disoriented. As her vision cleared, she realized she was inside a small, isolated cabin deep in the woods. Panic surged through her veins as she tried to remember how she got there, but her mind was a blank slate. Her heart pounded in her chest as she realized she was bound and gagged, her wrists tied tightly behind her back. She desperately tried to scream, but all that escaped her mouth was a muffled sound. Fear cascaded over her, and she struggled against the ropes that held her captive. She glanced around the dimly lit cabin, her eyes landing on the clock hanging on the wall. The ticking sound filled the air, echoing ominously, intensifying her anxiety. Each second drew her closer to a terrifying unknown. Using all her strength, she managed to free one hand from the bindings. With trembling fingers, she worked at the knot behind her back, her heart racing as she attempted to regain her freedom. The sound of her ragged breath filled the silence, urging her on. Suddenly, footsteps echoed outside the cabin, growing louder and closer with every passing second. Panic surged through her veins as she desperately scanned the room, searching for any clue that could lead her to her captor's identity. Her survival instincts kicked into overdrive, urging her on. Her eyes landed on a worn leather journal lying on the table nearby. With her free hand, she grabbed it and frantically flipped through the pages. Her heart skipped a beat when she discovered a passage about a mysterious figure known as the Night Stalker, who would capture unsuspecting victims in the woods and torment them until their last breath. As the footsteps drew nearer, she realized she had no time left. Tears welled in her eyes as she resigned herself to the possibility of a grim fate. But in a last-ditch effort, she tried to pick the lock on the cabin door. Her trembling hands fumbled over the lock with an agonizing slowness, and just as she felt the lock click open, the door swung open with a creak. Her heart pounded in her ears as she stared, frozen in terror, at the figure standing in the doorway. To her immense relief, it was a park ranger. He rushed forward to untie her, explaining that a hiker had stumbled upon the cabin and sensed something was wrong. The park ranger apologized for the trauma she had endured and guided her safely out of the cabin. As she emerged from the darkness of the woods, she couldn't help but feel a sense of gratitude and relief. The incident had shaken her to the core, but she would carry the strength she found within her forever. The woods would always haunt her, but she would never forget the determination that had saved her life.